Hello, we're Team 1 from Period 2 class. Our team members include Diana, Susan, and Luna. We're now going to talk about Newton's laws of motion and particularly the first law.
In order to talk about the first law of motion, laws, it is important to understand what is Newton's law of motion. What is Newton's law of motion?
Sir Isaac Newton came up with three basic ideas that are applied to the physics of most motions. These ideas have been tested, experimented, and verified for many years that scientists call these ideas Newton's three laws of motion.
Then, who is Isaac Newton? Who found three laws of motion?
Isaac Newton is one of the greatest scientists considered in the world. He worked a lot in mathematics in college and university. However, he worked most on developing calculus and physics in the rest of his life. His discoveries include laws of gravitation, discovery in optics, discoveries in theoretical physics.
We're now going to talk about Newton's first law of motion.
There are some things that we are going to explain about first law of motion. First, Newton's first law. Second, real-world examples with our own action.
Newton's first law of motion. It is that objects will remain at rest or in motion in a straight line unless acted upon by an external force. External force means unintended side effect that either benefit or harms a third party. It may be seen as a statement about inertia, that objects will remain in their state of motion unless a force acts to change the motion. It is commonly known as the law of inertia. Inertial tendency of an object in motion to remain in motion, or object that rests to remain at rest unless acted upon by a force.
It is shown like this as a mathematical expression. In other words, an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted on by an unbalanced force. An object in motion continues in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. There are three examples showing first law of motion, including our own actions.
First, when a car is going and suddenly stops, the passenger will move. We did this example with our own action using the chair instead of car. This can be an example of first law because inertia worked on her. As she is thrown forward from the chair, she moved forward that nothing stopped her. If somebody is thrown forward from an object, that somebody will be moving forward unless something stops that somebody.
Second, an object stays in the same place unless we push or pull or put force on the object. And this is our example video. Newton's first law is that object stays in the same place unless we push or pull on the object. At first, the pillow was at rest. As Susan put force on the object, the pillow moved or pillow went into motion that finally changed its location.
Third, when we take out the card over the cup with the object on it, the object goes inside the cup. This is our example video. By sharply pulling the card, the unbalanced force or friction is not applied sufficiently to overcome the inertia of the clip. The inertia of the clip resists the change of its rest position. As a result, the clip does not move with the car and falls into the cup because of gravity.
Remember, Isaac Newton is a scientist who worked a lot in the development of mathematics and physics.
Remember, Newton's first law of motion is object will remain at rest or in motion in a straight line unless acted upon by an external force.
Remember, our examples show that an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted on by unbalanced force. Thank you.
This was the presentation by Diana, Susan, and Luna about Newton's first law of motion.